person goes through many changes and confronted with many developmental challenges that they have to overcome. Those challenges on the road from infancy to adulthood. Hi, I am Paula Walker and I am presenting to you the older interview. This was done with a senior citizen and he gives a life history of himself. I interviewed my interviewee, who is at the rightful age of 75. He began his life in Barbados. At the age of 12, he and his family migrated to Trinidad. He adjusted well in school and culturally. He did not perform well academically and was encouraged by his father to repeat his examinations, as his father wanted him to become a medical doctor. But my interviewee was interested and determined to become a mechanic. His father had his father and him had an antagonistic relationship. However, he began working at age 16 as a mechanic. All of this was against his father's wishes. At the age of 18, he met his future wife, dated, and got married. Soon after, he stayed on this job for several years until he opened his own mechanic shop and retired at age 65. Here, I look at Erickson's psychological theories of development that comprises of 8 stages. These stages has its implications and benefits of understanding the theory. These 8 stages of development are as follows. First stage, trust versus mistrust. This is when an infant will realize that he or she is dependent on their caregiver. Caregiver could be the parent or someone who has adopted them or take the responsibility of taking care of them. However, the caregiver who responds to needs, that is how they begin to distinguish self from others. Second stage, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Here, a child is not sure about whether they can do things on their own or or, or do they need someone to assist them. The child can develop a certain amount of independence. At this time, they start to put on their clothing for themselves, so they're trying to gain their own independence. Third stage, imitative versus guilt. Children begins to affirm their power over the world through interactions between people and play, and by asserting over their environment through different challenges. Here, children begin to play with their peers and they have interactions. Next stage, industry versus inferiority. Entrance to life. A child who experiences the satisfaction of achievement of anything positive will move towards successful negotiation. Here we can see a photo of the child with an A plus. So he has gained success during this stage in his grade. Next stage, identity versus identity confusion. At this stage, the child has to learn the roles he will occupy as an adult. The child explores the possibilities and begins to form his or her own identity and develops a sense of direction in life. Here we go to the sixth stage, and Erickson's sixth stage states intimacy versus isolation. Here we explore relationships leading towards long term commitments with someone other than a family. Here we try to wean off our family members and start a date and the possibility of getting married, forming our own relationship, our own family. Our seventh stage, generatively versus stagnation. Here, at this stage, is how to contribute to the world. Adults strive to nurture things that they want their children to do, the things that will help the world or something that will be remembered by. Another stage, ego, integrity versus despair. As we grow older and become senior citizens, we tend to slow down our productivity and explore life as a retired person. Here, I look at the noteworthy procedures that took place in my interviewee's life. Significant events occurred in my interviewee's life between the ages of 12 to 18. He migrated to Trinidad. He was not performing well in school. He failed his academic exams. His relationship with his father was an antagonistic one. His father was repeatedly hostile towards him. He was faced with oppositions and made major decisions about his future at a young age. He began to work early, dated, and got married and had his own family. Identity versus role confusion, Erickson stage 5. This is what my interviewee went through, and this is the role that we focus on, the stage that we focus on. My interviewee achieved his identity from the age of 12 to 18. He explored and discovered his independence and sense of self. Here, he was trying to come into his own, what his role was going to be for the rest of his life. That is, finding his identity and his personality. He was also trying to come into his own, but his role was going to be the rest of his life. He had to go against his father's decision and wishes. He developed strength, learned to stand on his own. This is being a man. Knew what he wanted for himself and his future. He made decisions. He became independent. Walked into adulthood as a man. He explored and discovered his independence and sense of self. So at this stage, 5 in Erikson developmental theory, my clients were able to accomplish it successfully by becoming independent, weaning off of his family, going against his, despite going against his father's decisions. He was able to stand on his own, make decisions that turn out to be fruitful and successful, and he was able to accomplish all that he has set out to accomplish during that period of life. In conclusion, it is something everyone will go through and experience, but always be different. The better that people come through each crisis, the better they will tend to deal with what lies ahead. But this is not to say that all is lost and never to be recovered. If a person has had a negative experience during any particular crisis stage, lessons can be revisited successfully when they recur if we recognize and welcome them. My client has lived a rightful age to 75, and he had gone through all the 8 stages of developmental stages. However, we, we focus on stage 5, where we see that he was doing identity versus identity fusion. He was successful at this stage where he got his independence. He was able to work. He was able to move on and open his own business. He worked, he married, and has a successful relationship, a success life. In order to do this, he was determined. He saw that he can be independent and not dependent on his parents. In conclusion, we all go through different stages of some developmental stage, and as such, it is the stages that we move on in a positive way.